Points and miles can be an amazing way to travel more often, take better trips, and save money along the way. For you, maybe that means finally taking that dream trip to Europe you've been talking about for years, taking your family on an overdue getaway, or booking flights and hotels that would normally feel a bit out of reach. To a lot of people, points and miles seems too good to be true. But with a little time, effort, and the right habits, you can be on your way to booking travel for far less out of pocket in just a few months. But before you open up your first travel credit card, let's talk about some of the basics and figure out whether points and miles actually make sense for you. Hey everyone, I'm Trinity and this is Points and a Passport. This channel is going to focus primarily on points and miles for beginners, and we'll have some travel videos along the way as well. Today I'm going to go over some of the basics and the most important things you need to know before getting started. This is not going to be a deep dive into every single topic. In future episodes, I'll go into much more detail on things like transferable points, airline alliances, beginner credit cards, and how to actually book trips with points. And make sure you stick around till the end, because I'll share a bonus tip that could potentially help you double your points. Before we get too far into this though, let's start with the basics. What actually are points and miles? At a simple level, points and miles are travel rewards currency. You earn them from credit cards, hotels, airlines, and sometimes shopping portals and other promotions. Then you can use them for things like flights, hotels, statement credits, gift cards, and other travel purchases. But the important thing to understand is that not all points are the same. Point values can vary a lot depending on what types of points you have and how you use them. The two major categories I want to talk about here are transferable points and co-branded points. Co-branded points are tied to one specific program. For example, if you have a United credit card, you're earning United miles. If you have a Hilton card, you're earning Hilton points. Those can still be valuable, but they mostly keep you within that one program. Transferable points are different. These are points from banks like Chase, American Express, Citi, Bilt, Capital One, and others. The reason these are so powerful is that they give you flexibility. You can often transfer those points to a variety of airline and hotel partners. Let's look at Chase Ultimate Rewards as an example. With Chase, you can transfer points to partners like United, Southwest, Hyatt, Air Canada, Virgin Atlantic, and more. Some of those names you might recognize right away. Others might seem like they would not be useful to you at all. And that's where the airline alliances and partnerships come into play. Airlines often open up award space to their partners. So even if you're not actually flying on that airline program whose points you transfer to, you might still be able to use that program to book the flight you want. For example, Virgin Atlantic or Air France can sometimes be used to book Delta flights, where British Airways can sometimes be used to book American Airlines flights. Air Canada Aeroplan can be useful for booking Star Alliance flights as well. Now, this does not mean every flight is always available. Award availability varies greatly. Business class seats can be difficult to find, and not all transfer partners are created equal. Some are more valuable than others, and some charge higher taxes and fees. So yes, there is some research involved. But this is why transferable points are so valuable. They give you more options, and in the points and miles world, more options usually means more opportunity. Now, before we go any further, we need to talk about who points and miles are actually for, because banks are not just giving away points for free. They're a business, and they need to make money too. The biggest thing to be mindful of is that many travel credit cards come with very high interest rates. And that is why points and miles are not for everyone. If you're leaving a balance on your card every month and paying interest, that is when points and miles goes from being a valuable travel tool to an expensive mistake. The best way to avoid that is simple. Pay your balance in full every single month. If you're paying 20 to 25% interest, the points are not winning anymore. The bank is. Points and miles may not be a good fit for you right now if you're carrying a balance month to month, struggle with budgeting, tend to overspend, or trying to improve your credit score. Or honestly, if you never travel much at all, you might be better off with a cashback card. On the other hand, points and miles might be a good fit for you if you're paying your credit cards in full every month, You're not overspending just to earn rewards. Have a reasonably good credit score to get approved for the cards you want. Travel at least once every couple years, and are willing to spend a little time learning how this works. You do not have to be an expert. You do not have to travel constantly, but you do need to be responsible. One of the biggest fears people have with travel credit cards, what it will do to your credit score. And that's a fair question. Opening a new credit card can cause a temporary dip from the hard inquiry on your credit score. If you open too many cards too quickly, that can be risky as well. And if you miss payments, that can absolutely destroy your credit. But credit cards themselves do not automatically ruin your credit. On-time payments are critical. Paying your statement balance in full is going to go a long way. Staying organized is also really important. One thing that surprises people is that having more available credit can sometimes actually help your credit score because it may lower your credit utilization. For example, if you have one card with a $5,000 limit and you regularly have a $2,000 balance reporting, your utilization looks pretty high. That's 40%. But if your available credit increases and your spending stays the same, your utilization can go down. That does not mean you should go out and open a bunch of credit cards right away, but it does mean that the relationship between credit cards and your credit score is more nuanced than people think. The main point here is credit cards do not ruin your credit. Bad credit habits ruin your credit. So how do you actually earn points? There's two primary ways. The first way is everyday spending. That is what most people think of first. You use your credit card for normal purchases. You earn points based on the card's earning rate. Some cards earn 1 point per dollar on everything. Others might be 2, 3, 4, even up to 5 points per category, like dining, groceries, gas, or travel. Category multipliers are helpful, but they are usually not the fastest way to build a large points balance. The biggest accelerator is usually the sign-up bonus, also called a welcome bonus. This is where a bank offers a large one-time bonus to new cardholders after they spend a certain amount on the card within a certain time frame. A typical card offer might look like something where you're spending $4,000 in the first 3 months and you earn 60,000 points. If we value those points at a simple baseline of 1 cent per point, that bonus is worth about $600. And if you think about it, spending $4,000 to earn 60,000 points is like earning 15 points per dollar, before even counting the normal 1 to 3 multiplier you might get from using the card itself. That is why welcome bonuses are so powerful. Some bonuses can be much higher too. You might see offers from 100,000, 200,000 points. Some business cards can offer extremely large bonuses, and those usually come with some higher spending requirements. If you can comfortably meet a higher spending requirement with your normal spending, great. But if not, don't force it. Stick to what fits within your actual budget and your normal spending habits. Personally, when I open up a new credit card, I try to put everything I can on that card until I hit the sign-up bonus. Groceries, gas, utilities, insurance, anything that I can pay with a credit card without adding unnecessary fees. But if $4,000 in 3 months is too much for you, look for cards with a lower spending requirement to get you started. You should not overspend just to reach a sign-up bonus. If hitting the bonus causes you to carry a balance, and the interest can wipe out the value of the points that you're earning. Another good strategy is to plan around big purchases you are already going to make. Maybe you have a large bill coming up, like a new appliance, home improvements, car insurance bills, medical expenses, or something else you were already planning to pay for. That can be a great time to open up a new credit card because you can hit the spending requirement without changing your spending behavior. Let's look at an example of how much difference a sign-up bonus can make. In this example, each person spends the exact amount, $1,500 per month over a 12-month period, $18,000 in total. Person number 1 gets no new cards. Let's say this person earns 2x on their spending. So on the $1,500 per month, $18,000 over the year, they'll end up with about 36,000 points after 12 months. Let's look at person number 2. This person's spending the same $1,500 a month, but opens 2 new credit cards with 60,000 point bonuses. Let's say they're only earning 1x on the regular spend compared to the 2x in the previous person. At the end of the 12-month period, they're looking at about 138,000 points total. Now let's look at person 3. Again, this person's spending the same $1,500 a month, and 1x on their spend, but opens 4 new credit cards with 60,000 point bonuses. At the end of the 12-month period, they're looking at 258,000 total points. So even though all 3 people spent the same amount of money over the course of the 12-month period, the person using sign-up bonuses earned roughly 4 to 7 times as many points. That is why welcome bonuses are usually the engine behind the points and miles. Now let's talk about redeeming points, because earning points is only half of the game. A lot of people redeem their points for statement credits, gift cards, or Amazon purchases, and while those options are simple, they can leave a lot of potential value on the table. Let's take a look at American Express points using 100,000 points as an example. Depending on how you redeem those 100,000 points, it can look very different. If you're using it for statement credits, it might be worth around $600. Amazon purchases, you might be able to get about $700. Gift cards can vary depending on the store, maybe up to $1,000. Booking through the American Express travel portal might vary quite a bit, but you might be able to get about $700 to $1,000 depending on what you get. But transfer partners could potentially get you $1,500, $1,000 or more in value, depending on the redemption. The important point is not that one option is always wrong and another option is always right. The point is the same. 100,000 points can be worth very different depending on how you use them. If you want simple, statement credits or gift cards might be fine, but if you want the highest upside, transfer partners are usually where the most potential value is. This brings us to one of the biggest keys to getting value from points and miles: flexibility. Just like cash, points can vary a lot in real life. The value you get from your points can vary depending on how flexible you are. And that can mean flexibility with the points you're using, which airlines you're flying, what airport you leave out of, and your travel dates. Even your destination can vary quite a bit. For example, if you want to fly to Hawaii, but you only have JetBlue points, you might be out of luck. If a family of 4 wants to go to Florida during spring break, that is probably not going to happen. It's very expensive to use with points or cash. But if you can go during a different month or shift your travel dates by a few days, that can make a big difference. Even being open to a different destination can help. Let's say you really want to go to Paris, but flights are extremely high. Maybe flights into Amsterdam or Brussels are much cheaper. You can spend a few days there, then take a train or a short flight to Paris. I also often look at one-way flights instead of only searching round trip. I also like moving around a bit while traveling. So I had an example of a trip where I was going to Munich for Oktoberfest. Flights in and out of Munich were really expensive during that time frame, so instead I flew into Prague, stayed there a few nights, took the train down to Munich for Oktoberfest, then continued on to Venice for the last part of our trip, and flew home from Venice. That saved me points, saved me money, and also meant I did not have to circle all the way back to Prague just to catch my flight home. That's why when I say the more flexible you are, the more powerful your points become. Another thing beginners often get stuck on are the annual fees. A lot of people say, I'd never get a card with an annual fee, and trust me, I used to be one of those people too. But the best travel cards often do come with annual fees. And many of those are the cards that unlock transfer partners, which can be one of the best ways to get more value from your points. The question should not simply be, does this card have an annual fee? The better question might be, do the benefits outweigh the annual fee? Many annual fee cards come with perks or credits that can help offset the cost of that high annual fee. These can include things like hotel and airline credits, free checked bags, lounge access, TSA pre-check and global entry credits, other travel protections, and other coupon-y type credits and benefits that might apply for that card. Now that does not mean every annual fee card is worth keeping forever. Many cards can be easy to justify in the first year because the welcome bonus is so valuable. But after the first year, you need to decide whether the benefits are still worth the cost. If you're using the benefits and getting more value than the fee, it might be worth keeping. But if you're not using the benefits, then it might be time to downgrade, cancel the card, or move on to something else. Organization is a key in this hobby. As you get more than a couple cards, these are things you need to keep track of. When annual fees are coming up, whether you're using the card benefits before they expire, whether you're meeting sign-up bonuses on time, which cards have credits available, and whether each card is still worth keeping long term. At first, this might not seem like a big deal, but once you have multiple cards, it can start to feel like a chore. Fortunately, there's some pretty good apps out there that can help you keep track of all of this stuff. They can help alert you when annual fees are coming up, remind you when credits are about to expire, and help you keep everything organized. Some of the apps I've used are CardWrite, Travel Freely, Wallet Flow, and Award Wallet. My favorite right now is CardWrite, but I think it is worth trying a few and seeing which ones work best for you. For me, staying organized usually takes about 20 to 30 minutes a month. That is not bad considering the amount of travel value points and miles can unlock, but it is still something you need to be willing to do. I've been in the points and miles world for over 5 years now, and it has genuinely changed the way that I travel. Before points and miles, I might have taken 2-3 trips a year. Now I'm usually traveling 5 or more times a year. It allows me to travel more often, stay in hotels I probably would never have paid cash for, and book trips that otherwise might not have happened. For example, I might look at a hotel in Manhattan and see a cash price of $600. That's a lot of money, but if I can transfer 20,000 Chase points to Hyatt and book the same room with points, that's a completely different story. I'm also flying to Asia in business class in a few months, and that would never have been possible for me if I was having to pay cash at over $4,000 per person each way. I also have adult children who sometimes travel with me, and points and miles makes it easier to bring them along. I've used points and miles to visit family and friends, attend weddings, take weekend trips, and make things happen that otherwise would have been much harder to justify otherwise. And it does not always have to be extravagant. Maybe it's a night in the city for an event, a weekend getaway not too far away, or maybe you're going to a concert, festival, or sporting event out of town. Whatever you're into. For me, I've done several trips outside of the state for birding because that's something I personally enjoy. Maybe for you it's Europe, Disney, Hawaii, national parks, baseball stadiums, just being able to visit family more often. Points and miles have opened up possibilities for me that would not have existed without them. Drop a comment and let me know. Where would you want to book your first points and miles trip? Now, I do want to set some realistic expectations. This can be an overwhelming hobby when you're first getting started. There are a lot of programs, a lot of cards, a lot of rules, and a lot of opinions. But you do not need to learn everything at once. Not everyone needs to open up 6 cards right away and enjoy points and miles. You can start slow, within your comfort zone, and build from there. The best approach is usually to start collecting flexible points so that when you're ready to book a trip, you already have options. It also takes time. You're probably not going to open up one card today and be booking a dream vacation tomorrow. It might take several months to accumulate enough points for your first meaningful redemption. So start slow, learn the basics, expand when you feel a little bit more comfortable. And above all else, be responsible. Make sure you're paying off those balances in full every month. People also like to describe points and miles trips as free travel, and I get why. Compared to the cash price, it can feel almost free, but there are still some costs. You might pay taxes and fees on your flights. You might have annual fees on the credit cards where you're not balancing them out on the perks. There's some time and organization involved, and if you do not pay your balance in full, the interest can completely destroy the value. So instead of calling it completely free travel, I tend to think of it as travel for far less out of pocket. Maybe it's about a 90% free. Maybe it's not truly free, but it can still be incredibly valuable. Now for the bonus tip I promised, the power of player 2. A lot of people travel with someone else. That could be your spouse, partner, family member, or even a friend. In the points and miles hobby, people often refer to this as player 1 and player 2. Player 1 is the primary points person, in my case, myself. My player 2, that's my wife. Having 2 people on the same team can be incredibly powerful because each person may be able to open the same card and earn the same sign-up bonus. So instead of one person earning 60,000 points, you might have 2 people each earning the 60,000 point sign-up bonus. That's 120,000 points combined before even considering any sort of referral bonuses. In some cases, one person can refer the other person and earn an additional bonus for doing so. It also helps if you're traveling together because you might be able to share hotel accommodations, combine travel plans, and work towards the same trip. This is not something to rush into with the other person if they're not interested or not financially responsible. Both people need to understand the plan. But if you have a spouse, a family member, or friend who likes to travel, points and miles can get a lot more powerful when you learn the game together. So if someone just came to mind while you were watching this, maybe send them this video. If you are brand new to Points and Miles, subscribe to Points and a Passport. I'm going to walk through the basics, the mistakes to avoid, the programs that matter, and the actual trips that these points can unlock. In the next couple of episodes, I'll be covering transferable points and airline alliances, as well as some of the top points and miles credit cards for beginners. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.